let's talk about the manifolds here. So this one here is the driver's side manifold. Okay. And this one here is the passenger side manifold. Now what I've noticed on these, on the flanges here is, one, driver's side is all one piece flange. Okay. Passenger side is two piece. There appears to be a cut here. Now I really looked closely, trying to figure out if that broke like that from the casting or if it was factory. And you know, I was looking at the molding marks. It's kind of difficult to see with the camera. I was looking at the molding marks here, and it appears that that may be original and designed like that. Now, why they designed the passenger side with the split and not the driver's side, I don't know. But here's the other thing: is if you look at the size of the holes, you have a large hole, small hole, large hole, small slot. Okay, so what does that tell you? What it tells me is this hole here is the actual locator bolt on for positioning the manifold on the head properly, and for, you know, basically getting everything lined up. We have the same thing on the passenger side manifold. There's large hole, small hole, large hole, slot. Okay? So when you go to put these on the head, obviously, that bolt goes in first, the smallest one, and then the frontmost bolt goes in second, which would be the slotted one, and then you install the other bolts. And that's going to become critical when it comes time to torque this down. And the torquing sequence that I'm going to share a bit later is one that I've used every time I've put new manifolds, not new manifolds, but done this job on my other vehicles, and I haven't had any return problems with breakage of bolts. So, you know, the sequence is critical, positioning is critical, and then of course torquing it up. So what are we going to do to prepare these manifolds to go back on the truck? Well, number one, we need to clean off carbon. You're going to have carbon build up wherever it was leaking, and there's a number of reasons for that, which I'll cover in the pause section in a moment. Anyway, basically clean up as much carbon as you can so that doesn't affect the gasket. So clean all those holes out. Check for flatness of the manifolds, because if you have a severely warped manifold, or each port is a different height. It doesn't matter what you do with the bolts, doesn't matter what you do with the gaskets, doesn't matter what you do with the torque sequence. You're going to have problems again later. I mean, this is steel, the head is aluminum. Aluminum will give, steel won't, and the weakest point by design is the bolts. So the bolts will break. So you can do this with a straight edge. Let's see if I got it here. I've got a longer one that I'll pull out when I actually do this, but just as example, do this with a straight edge. You run right across all four, and so you're going to go right down the middle. Then you're going to do a cross, edge of hole to edge of hole, and then across the other way, edge of hole to edge of hole. And basically what you're looking for is a gap. I'm filming one-handed, so bear with me. You're looking for a gap at the bottom of the straight edge across any of the holes. Okay, so you across like that, and you're going to check it for flatness the whole way across. I got the benefit here of a fairly flat table, so what I do is I put it flat on other side down on the table, and then I force and wiggle and feel for play, and I may use some feeler shims where I sense there's a gap to try and figure out how big that gap is. To correct that, easiest way is if you got a belt sander, grab a belt sander, put some really good quality grit paper on it, and have at her. And so let's say this one was a little high. I would put the belt sander on, and I would basically hand sand that down until I get to where I want, and I get the clearances I want. Okay? Again, these things take time and patience. If you got no time and you got no patience, then you take this fat manifold to the machine shop and ask them to even it out. Most of them will tell you to go pound sand because they don't want anything to do with warp manifolds. And the ones that do it, they'll do it with an exception clause, of course. I prefer to just do it myself. I know what close enough means in my book on this. So these ones are pretty flat. So basically I'm just looking at a cleanup. So I'm going to clean up the holes with a good scraper. Clean up the surfaces as best as I can with a good scraper. And I'm going to take a palm sander. Okay, and I'm going to clean up all those ports with the palm sander. If I sense any rust areas that are high, like here, obviously I'm just going to hit it a little harder with the sander in that location. I'm looking to get this as clean as I can, as flat as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, depending on what type of gaskets you're going to use. And I'll explain the gaskets that I use in a few minutes here. Okay, so getting on to the next part here. Hold on. Okay, so next up is to clean manifolds. And I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to use a power tool on this one. So basically, I'm going to take some of that mix. I'm going to spread that on there. See, I found that WD-40 works really good for dissolving the rust and the carbon. And the really hard stuff, it softens it, and then a little bit of sanding just basically knocks it, takes care of the rest of it. Okay, so we've got that on there. Now, just wiping it off my hand here so I can grab the sander with my phone. Grab my phone with one hand, grab the sander with the other hand. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit more oil on there. And hit her again. Good sounding wood. Sort of, but not really. How's that, eh? Maybe a little bit of let's give her a splash. Splash her brake clean. And that's basically the idea. I don't know if you can see that, but that's clean metal. Hardly any rust left there. And it's that easy. Okay, so I'm gonna touch this one a little bit more and then do that one, and then we'll be back. All right, we got our manifolds cleaned up and check for flatness. So basically take a straight edge, lay it across like so. This is the passenger side manifold. It's, you know, there might be 5 thou out across the whole thing on that one. This one's the driver's side. It's got it's got probably a good 20, 50. I don't know, I'll measure it in a bit. Actually, I'm not going to bother to measure it. Not yet, anyway. The high point's right in the center. So, you probably spotted that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this one up a little bit here. If you notice the passenger side manifold, it's either broke or it's cut there. I'm not sure which it is. And this one, the driver's side, simply because this part here is the high spot, and also when that's all tied together, that's just more stress for the bolts to pull flat against the head. So I'm going to put a little zip cut right between those two bolts. Zing. Zip. So it'll be the same as that one over there. So basically the bolt on is going to be three bolts to those two and 3 bolts to those two. Same thing as there. That'll take the stresses out of this manifold, and less likelihood of a future bolt damage, or I should say breakage. So we're going to get on to that right now. I'm not going to try to hold the camera on a cutting wheel at the same time. Basically, very thin cutting wheel, and zip. It's going to cut like a hot knife through butter. Okay. Dun dun dun. That took literally 32 seconds, maybe. There you go. There's the cut. And now, guess what? That strain is gone. Most of it's gone. It's less than half of what it was. So, that's it. Okay, so now we're going to get the torch out and I'm going to heat these up so I can get the old collector pipe studs out and put new studs in, and then we're ready to install these in the truck. Awesome, it's coming. Okay, on to the next stage, which is to replace the rusted exhaust studs. Now, for this part, folks, you're never going to get these out by trying to turn them out using the little hex end. Okay, they are permanent Loctited in there, plus heat, plus rusted, etc. So, what you got to do, put the nuts on, screw them all the way down as close as you can. Okay, and then weld them. I don't have enough weld on here yet, but weld them down there. The reason why you want to be so close is so that when you hit it with the impact, where is it? Yeah, the impact. When you start using the impact wrench on this, the impact distance is very short, so there's going to be a lot of energy transferred right to the nut right there, and or I mean the flange, and so that's going to break it free a lot easier. If you weld the nut on up here, then you got that whole bolt moving back and forth with each impact. It's like a spring. Okay, so you're not going to get as much force down to the flange here. So it either won't come out because of that, or you'll end up snapping off the bolt. Okay, so I'm going to put a little more weld on these ones, and then I will back them out, and that's what it looks like when it comes out. I've already done one of the manifolds there. Okay, so weld them on, add some heat, add some core oil, hit it with the impact, they come right out. Okay folks, so here's where we were at. We've got our manifolds cleaned up, ready to go onto the head. We have our downpipe studs removed. The old rusty ones are removed, and I'm about to put new ones on. I've got the downpipe surface cleaned up, that's ready to receive the basically the flange and gasket from underneath the truck. So this spot here, I just wanted to show you. Okay, so the new studs that are going to go in there, these are Dorman again. I like the Dorman stuff. This stuff just fits and works. Okay, so this is an exhaust flange hardware kit. There's the part number, and that's for here. So in the kit you get 6 studs and 6 nuts. So let's open these up. I'm just going to set you down here and see if you're going to be able to see what I do here. Okay. So anyway, we're going to put the studs in along with red permanent lock tape. Okay. Permanent thread locker, red. Okay, so let's open this up. See what we have. Okay, so there's the stud. Short end goes into the flange. Oh, are you able to see the flange here? I'm gonna have to put you up a little bit higher. Hold on a second. Got you taped up, believe it or not, you're taped up on top of a Armor All container. You're probably gonna fall, but what the hell. Alright, so Loctite. Sorry, my low battery message again. Okay, Loctite. Let's open that up. First, we're going to make sure that that stud fits in there. Yep. So some red Loctite. Don't be shy. After all, when we come back, we want the nuts to come off the nuts to come off. We don't want the stud to come out. So I'm going to grab it right here at the collar on the stud. You know, I could put the nut on and run it down with the nut, but I don't want to damage the threads where the nut goes. Just like that. So it's one. Okay, works good on the first one. Not so good on the other ones. Right? And that one is. Chase those threads, eh? And there we have it. Sorry, that last little bit was kind of broken up because oh, you're gonna fall. No, you're gonna be okay. That last little bit was broken up because I was having battery issues, and then one of the holes was pretty stiff. So what I did was I ran the tap through it. Okay, I ran the tap, you know, a little over halfway through the bolt hole, just to get it to loosen up enough that the stud would go all the way in. I didn't tap it all the way through because I still want the stud to be tight. So it's an interference fit plus the Loctite that's on there. Okay, so that's the first one. I'll take that one out of there. Set it aside. Let it set that aside. Grab the next one. Nope, still there. And this one's going to get the same general treatment. Okay, so we're going to start out with a dribble of oil. I'm not sure if you're vibrating through this or not, because I'm not watching the camera at this point. I got you taped to an Armor All jug. Alright, so we're going to run the tap of these ones, not all the way through, just a little ways, just enough so that the studs will go in. Yeah, so the next thing we're going to say is don't put the container on the table, right? Let me see if I can move you. I can see you vibrating all over the place here. Hold on. Okay, I am going to guess that that's a whole lot better. Okay, so we got this flange sanded smooth so that it meets up well with the pipe on the truck. Now I'm running a tap in to clean the rust and the old Loctite little hole here. And I'm feeling, because I don't want to go all the way through, just most of the way through. Okay, that's one. That tap size is 10 by 1.5. Stiff, isn't it? It's barking at me like that. That should be just about right. That's two. This will be number 3. And same thing, I'm running it in most of the way, but not all the way. Studs to go in and tighten up a little bit at the end, much like a tapered pipe thread. Okay, she's ready. Brake clean, get the oil out of the hole, glue doesn't stick to oil. Those vice grips go. Can't before. I'll finish them off with a little bit of torque off screen. Really, it's running down. See, there's 3/4 of a thread left, and it's stuck. So that means when I run it down, that will it's going to tighten up perfectly. That plus the Loctite. That one's perfect as well. Okay, where did I put the vice grips? Hold on a moment. We are missing. another pair. I'll just grab some bigger ones. Like so. Just like that. I hope you guys are seeing okay. Alright, there we go. We now have manifold complete. New studs. Surface is cleaned up. Relief for stresses is cut. That's ready to go on the truck. This one's the same thing. Studs are in. Relief is cut. That's ready to go on the truck. And oh look, there's the vice grips. They were under the other manifold. Okay, we're going to move over to the truck next.